Welcome to the Pandaverse. I'm Elgon Williams, and today we're welcoming Mike Eberhardt. Mike does a lot of the audiobooks for Pandamoon Publishing. He's also a voice actor. He does commercials. He does a lot of things. But today he's our pinch reader. We'll call it a pinch reader for Joanna Evans. We had a Joanna Evans scheduled, and she is here lurking in the background. She injured her shoulder in a slip and fall. She's not comfortable, sitting and reading at the same time. So we asked Mike to step in and help her out. The book is titled SINAI Unhinged. It's already available in print on Amazon and on pandamoonpublishing.com. And it will be available on Wednesday in ebook on Amazon.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Eberhardt. I'm a professional narrator and voiceover artist, and I'm today's pinch reader. And I'm so excited to read this to you. I've only read the first chapter, and this book just starts like at 100 miles an hour, and I cannot wait to find out what happens. And so we're going to actually start right at chapter 1 on the first page. All right, you guys ready? Let me get this in a good spot. Here we go. Alex scanned the room. Little more than a small hard box set aside to interview the riskier patients of Sinai General, and then look back at her patient, her last session of the day. He wore a crumpled smock, a waxy complexion, and the panicked look of a crime victim certain his attacker would return in his sleep. "There, that's what I saw before. It's starting again," Austin said, nodding toward the corner of the room. Alex saw nothing but a sterile clinic room floor and a few dust bunnies. "It's okay, Austin. You're safe here," she said, watching as he groped to clench the table edge, knuckles white. Trembling spread through his body, rattling the table legs upon the tattered linoleum. Alex set her hands on the metal surface. The added weight quieted the din, her fingertips inches away from his injured forearm. Gauze bandages concealed poker-sized burns. Thin cables from the core of a particle detector, the monstrous machine resurrected at the old physics lab, had pierced this man's flesh. Not long after, he lost touch with reality. Another reckless experiment. "Don't you see it?" he said, his breath shallow, his spiky energy almost contagious. Alex leaned in, trying to catch his twitching eyes. "See what? Tell me." "They're always happening," he said, voice rising as he ramped his large body up into a wicked fast rock, forward and backward. Built stocky, athletic and solid like a pit bull, Austin dwarfed the creaky wooden chair. "I know you're scared, but you're at Sinai General, the psychiatric unit, and you're safe." "You don't believe me," he spat, spittle spraying from his lips, eyes darting in circles, then pressing closed in a tight set of wrinkles. Shaking his head, he grabbed the sides of his chair, rocking and mumbling incoherently, muddling any chance of comprehension. Her stomach shrunk at the sight of him slipping, so in need of firm ground. "This morning at the complex, people said you seemed fine. The experiment you were working on was running smoothly until there was a problem in the counting room." Austin cringed, rocking and mumbling. "They said you went in, and when you came out, you were hurt, holding your arm. You ran under your desk, and when your friends tried to help, you attacked them and ran into a closet." "They wouldn't come with me," he said, sounding a bit like a rejected schoolboy. "No, they wouldn't. But you tried. You tried to pull them in with you, but they fought you off. And you were saying, 'Watch out, it's coming.' What was coming?" Austin tilted his head back and rolled his blood-red eyes toward the ceiling. "Things splitting open, hot as blazes. Was I supposed to just sit there and fry?" Sit there and fry? Not again. The words all too closely resembled the half-baked comments that flowed from her father's lips just before he pulled one of his vanishing acts. Between bouts of insanity, her father had often spoken of his work in particle physics, Really, he talked to her about little else. And to be honest, even when he spoke physics fact, it more often than not sounded fiction. After he left for the last time, science ceased to be meaningful. Many things ceased to be meaningful. He'd left a hole greater than she'd speak of, a cavity dark, deep, and preferably dormant. Through it all, Alex had become intimate with the workings of particle accelerators, enough to know that Austin's workstation would have been far removed from the accelerator or detector sites. No, of course not. But what do you mean, things split open? The rocking and mumbling resumed. Alex sank back into her chair, not entirely sure if she should proceed, and then shuffled her chair closer to the panic button, just in case. Tell me more, Austin. Her patient mumbled louder, nonsense words, seemingly a tune designed to quell his thoughts. What you saw at the complex is the same thing here, now? Alex strained her ears, trying to decipher his murmurs, repetitive sounds, almost chants. Sifting through the verbal rubble, she caught a word, cracking. Before she could respond, Austin broke free from his self-soothing trance, flew to his feet, and flipped the interview table on its side as he shouted, "Go!" Alex lurched for the panic button. Her fingertips brushed it as Austin grabbed her wrists and yanked, her shoulders snapping. He slung her to the ground behind the table, momentum sliding her body across the floor. Austin landed on her before she could scream, the forceful jolt emptying her lungs of air. Her chest heaved painful labors, struggling for oxygen. Only a rasping wheeze escaped. Needles stabbed as she twisted for comfort and breath. "Get off me!" she choked, squirming and pushing under his weight. "Shh!" Austin whispered as he covered her mouth with his hand. Alex's eyes flew wide open. "He's suffocating me. God damn it, this can't be happening." She tried to turn her head, but Austin overpowered her. His icy hands gripped her jaw closed, the back of her skull pressed to the cold, hard ground. Her heart pounded, her body shook with adrenaline, and in the distance, the intercom crackled. "Code Yellow, interview room 4. Staring at ceiling tiles through blurred, watery eyes, she forced her lungs to accept any wisp of air they could find. Alex's faint breath pushed against Austin's palm and then hotly back into her face. But gaps slipped between his fingers, and air reached her lips, and after what seemed like an eternity, her chest loosened. With strength renewed, Alex let loose a gravelly, partially muffled wail. He blocked her cry with a forearm across her teeth, and in return she bit hard. Pretty sure she wasn't supposed to bite her patients. Probably an ethics violation of some sort. On instinct, she crunched down, a break in the skin prevented only by his muslin sleeve. Austin grunted. Shit! The chomp was enough of a surprise to knock him off balance. Alex rammed her knee between his legs. Geez, I'll lose my license for sure now. And in a jerky, frantic chest press motion, thrust his concrete bulk off of her. She scrambled away, sizing up her location. Austin sat curled on the floor between her and the door, blocking her exit, with an almost comical look on his face. Eyebrows askew, mouth half open, and in obvious pain, he continued to scan the room's corners. Whatever Austin saw was quite real to him. Whatever Austin saw terrified him. His eyes made that clear, as if he'd entered the same oblivion her father had during his fits many years before. Cracking. Maybe Austin meant he was about to crack up. Maybe when he said go, he was ordering her to leave. Alex had just pushed him too far, endangering them both in the process. Damn it, where the hell are the techs? Then his face softened, and he whispered, I think it's done. Alex shifted her weight, sliding toward the door until he rose and stood over her. She stopped and met his eyes, ready to shoulder tackle his belly at the slightest hint of agitation. Instead, she saw eyes soft and warm.
Well, that was good.
It's so fun. I can't wait to
you
find out what happens.
I want you to read my book. That's what.
You got it. You say when. Let's do it.
All right.
Joanna, the story, it just gets right off the bat, just starts cranking.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You were great. It's exciting to hear it out loud. It's different when you're reading it over and over. It's nice to kind of just lean back and hear it. Yeah, you made it sound great.
Thank you. I'm sure it's different having it in your head and you're so familiar with it than to hear someone else's interpretation. That's got to be fun.
Right. That is fun. Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to find out what he's seeing. I'm not sure if I really want to know.
Yeah. You'll get there eventually.
I enjoyed the book, and that reading was great. I got to know all the books that you've done a reading, like recorded, because I really like that.
Oh, thank you. I've actually done 13 audiobooks at this point. I just finished book 13, and I'm starting work on book 14. Actually started this weekend. And 7 of them are fiction, and 6 of them are nonfiction of the ones I've completed. And now I pretty much exclusively work in fiction books because it's just so much fun to create the characters and and act it and experience it. It's just so much fun to do the stories.
Mike's done Juggling Kittens from Pandamoon. He's done Project 137, The Last Detective.
Sun, yeah, Looking into the Sun and Faith on for Panda. All of them so different, but so much fun. Like every single time it's a different kind of journey as an actor. It's really fun to do. I've really enjoyed getting to know the characters, and the stories are so great. It's been a real pleasure to do them.
The first audiobook that I heard him do was The Last Detective, and you have the perfect detective voice.
Yes, he does.
I agree.
I keep thinking it's a 1940s detective, and I keep thinking classic character actor from, I told you that before, like Humphrey Bogart or like somebody. Yeah. There's somebody with a certain sort of inflection that always reminds me of you, or you remind me of him. Yep.
Thank you. That's fun. I love that I've got kind of my own little style going. It's really fun. And yeah,
I think I agree with the Humphrey Bogart comment there. It really, you know, got to get a Lauren Bacall someone to, do a duet with you.
Well, Mike's been working on some promotional things with Nola Nash to promote her cover reveal that's coming up for next Crescent City Sin.
Oh, I love her books.
And I was just wondering that, Nola has some recording equipment herself. And I was wondering if there was a way of having Mike do the male characters and Nola do the female characters of the Crescent.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be interesting.
That'd be fun because, like me, Nola also has a theater background.
Right.
And so that'd be really fun. I've never actually done, a collaborated like
Nola does the accent, the Asian accent in her book very well. And
that's good because that accent is terrifying for me. That Southern Cajun sound is really sound. I do not have a handle on that.
That'd be a good combination.
Especially with what goes on in Nola's books. I can just imagine how you could get in the character and just get really deep into them, the voices that would come out.
Yeah, and that's one of the most fun things I think as a narrator is to actually create the character voices and learn the accents and do it. The book I just finished is this book called Identity. I just wrapped this up a couple weeks ago. It should release this week. And in this book, I do 57 unique voices with 6 different accents. And it's about a 12-hour-long audiobook. It was a real pleasure to do it, but a real challenge at the same time. I have a really weird process. I know Elgon knows about this, where I don't read the book before I narrate it. I mean, I'll read the chapter that I'm on. And when I get a new book, I'll read 4 or 5 chapters to get a feel for it. But from then on, I talk to the authors and try to figure out who's this character and how important are they, yada, yada, yada. But I don't want to know the twists and turns, because it'll affect the way I play those characters. And man, if I'd had any idea I'd be doing 57 characters and 6 different accents, I would have been terrified.
It's kind of like Heinz steak sauce there, the 57 flavors.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I think whoever picked you to do that book picked the right guy. That's for sure. 'Cause
Thanks.
you do a variety of voices in the books that you've done for Pandamoon. So, you know, I can see you handling that pretty well.
Thank you. Yeah, some of the things I do to create these characters, you guys, you would not believe how crazy it is. Some of the things, like I did Project 137 for Seth, and in that book, there's a Japanese general, and obviously I'm not Japanese, and I learned the accent from YouTube, learned some stuff, and then started experimenting, creating voices, and it turned out to get his voice just right, I would end up putting a cough drop in the left-hand side of my mouth and keep it in my teeth as I was talking, because in my mind, he struck me as the kind of guy that might have a cigar always kind of handy, and later he gets, esophageal cancer, and I was like, I kind of feel like he should have that, and I put it in there, and I ran it by, I said like, hey, here's what I'm thinking for this voice, what do you think? And he loved it, and just the physical things I do with some of these character voices. I'm sure you saw when I was reading here, like I was doing this big like lip change to try to get Austin's voice out, and I just do all kinds of crazy stuff in the booth, you guys, to try to bring these characters to life. It's just crazy. I'll wake up at 4 a.m. to get my voice lower, or if I need a guy who's like a smoker voice or something, I'll wait until the very end of the night, like 11:30 p.m. when my voice is really tired, and I'll make sure to talk to some friends on the phone to kind of wear it out and to get that specific sound. And it's really fun. I'll record all those characters' lines by themselves and then insert them into the book where they need to go, just so that it keeps that consistent sound. It's some crazy stuff, but it's really fun, and I think it really shows when you hear the books.
You even do intercoms and mechanical devices, apparently. You did the crackling of the intercom. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I totally do. I try to do little things like that just to kind of try to bring it to life a little bit. In Project 137, there were some scenes where people are talking with walkie-talkies and that kind of thing, and I would use some audio compression to give that walkie-talkie sound. Or in that same book, I did a robot voice, and instead of using software to create it, I actually just did it myself, kind of sounding like a GPS voice, and that was a lot of fun to do. But yeah, I try to do little things like that just to bring the story to life. Everything I do is really to try to convey the emotion behind what the author is writing, what's happening to the characters, to try to serve the story.
Getting back to Joanna's book, I'm a little farther along in the book than Mike's gotten here. But,
Yeah.
She brings in a variety of characters. If they're being introduced. I mean, as an author, when you're reading a book, characters introduced are probably going to have some relationship to how the plot resolves and some interaction with the main characters. So she's introducing other characters along the way, like there's for example, there's it's not really a boyfriend, it's a friend who's a computer engineer who also has sort of a religious background. There's going to be something going on there. There's another character that is, he benefits from one of the other characters' calamity that happens to him when he gets sick and affected by the problem at this physics research facility, and he gets the promotion to the position that the previous person had, and he's a little nervous about it, but he's doing it because he wants his I think it's his wife wants to be a medical doctor, so her hope of getting into medical school is to have the financial wherewithal to pay for all the training that she has to go through, and he needs the promotion to that. So you get a lot of the detail and the motivation in it, and it's very well done. And that, I've got to tell you, this book is complicated. I mean, if you like a mystery that is presented to you piece by piece, and you have a basic idea that something terrible is going on, but you're trying to find out what's going on in the process. this is the kind of book you're gonna like. I mean, it's a really good book. It holds your attention well, and I'm gonna finish it off probably the next couple of days. I'm taking my time reading it because I want to digest what's going on with it. I don't want to speed through it. There's a lot of scientific material going on. A little bit of that's presented, but it's not overwhelming. It's a complex story that's very well presented.
I was going to say you don't need to be an expert in physics because I am not. I mean, I have a master's in social work and I've been a social worker for a long time. Physics was just a sidebar interest. So yeah, if I can absorb some of it, anybody can.
So have you taken some physics classes?
No, I would just read a lot of weird books. I almost love nonfiction books more than fiction. I mean, I love fiction too, but when I tend to grab off the shelf sometimes is the nonfiction books, just like learning and understanding, looking for deeper meaning in things and trying to, and I'm a really, I don't know if it's good or bad, like skimmer. Like I'll read most of a book, but like I might not read like the last pages of a nonfiction book, but I like to just sort of get the general ideas and of something and try to put it all together.
I like the way you're producing a mystery in this one. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When I actually do my interview, maybe, well, if I can find them, I'll bring some of the books that I would skim through, would read through or were influential, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, we'll be doing, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing a full interview with Joanna, and she'll perhaps read another part of the book for us. And
I enjoyed the part that was read, that's for sure. It grabs you right into it.
Thank you. Thank you both.
This one starts off running. That's for sure.
I'm open to pinch reading for you again, Joanna. I'm bribable with cookies, with sweet
right. It doesn't take much, right?
Yeah. So Mike,
I'll get to reading that book, and I'll get that. I was just looking. I have a copy of it actually, and
perfect.
I'm gonna get that because I have a it's called book club. I have a book club and review blog page, and I'm always inviting everybody who's like here on Panda Universe just to come and have a day. We'll be having Tony Oliver there this week. Yes.
Ah, good. Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, Joanna's book is officially launched on Wednesday. You can get the print book now, and however long it takes Amazon to send it to you. I believe if you order it today, you can get it on Friday. This is Sunday. So, Mike, I know you do a lot of things on your own. You have your own studio, Super Fun Studios.
I'm keeping really busy. I've done 3 or 4 commercials so far this year. Obviously, this big book. I just signed a contract for 2 more books, which I'll announce on social later. They're kind of like adventure stories, like it's in the style of Indiana Jones kind of thing. But so I've been keeping really busy since I can do it from my home. But I will say that different types of productions have slowed down. Where I'll audition for some things, or I'll have an agent contact me or interested in hiring me for some voiceover work, and then the production gets stopped or it gets postponed just because the nature of the lockdown and the pandemic happening right now. It's just a lot of things have slowed, but overall I'm still keeping really busy. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of the bigger projects are slowed down or stalled just because of the nature of what's happening. But a lot of the stuff like narrating audiobooks and doing some smaller commercial work is pretty much unchanged. The biggest difference for me is I don't get called to go to any studios. I just do it all from my home, mix it here, and then my audio quality is good. I've got a high quality microphone there, and so it works out. For me, it's great because the commute is fantastic. Right?
Yeah.
I have my same routine when I record. So if I roll out of bed, I drink 30 ounces of water, I hit the shower, warm up my voice, and go record. And that hasn't changed at all. Like nothing has changed. I've been doing that for 2 years, and that's just how it goes. Welcome to Monday, welcome to Wednesday, welcome to Thursday.
So you still have the same car you had I mean, Mike and I hung out together for an afternoon, so you know, we actually physically met in the universe.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool since you were so close by. I was like, I would be remiss if you were only, 40 minutes away and we don't sit down and share a meal. Like, that would be silly. So yeah, I'm still driving that same car. I drive a little electric car. It's 100% electric. And I just adore it. It's like driving an overblown golf cart. It's super peppy. It's small, but it feels big inside. It's got a nice ride and just kind of cruise around in it. It's great. I absolutely love it. And the fact that at the end of the day, I get to plug it in like my cell phone is a huge bonus for me. I love it. And especially now, actually, I didn't even think about it till right now. I don't have to go and touch, a gas station nozzle. I don't need to put my hands anywhere. It's just in my own house. So that keeps it easy to stay sanitary with everything going on, which is great. And yeah, I adore the car.
Have you done any actual acting roles where you've?
Oh man, have I ever? Yes. Boy, have you opened a can of worms. Look out. Yeah. So before I did voiceover work, I actually was a theater performer. I was a member of Actors Equity and AGBA, and I've done shows all across the country, in foreign countries, headline on cruise ships, played Phantom and Phantom of the Opera. I've done more musicals than you could shake a stick at. I mean, like Curly in Oklahoma, Sky Masterson and Guys and Dolls, Billy in Carousel. Yeah, so I did theater for a number of years. I think a total maybe 6 national tours in Broadway style, all musicals. So I'm actually a singer by trade. And, did the West Coast premiere of the Will Rogers Follies back in the day. And so I did theater work for years and years and years and years. And that was my passion. And unfortunately, a few years ago, I got very sick and I was housebound for about 3 years with an undiagnosed genetic disease. And so that prevented me from obviously doing any theater. I couldn't leave the house. I could barely walk. Anyway, things are a lot better now. But I'm still not really able to do theater work. And so I needed a creative and artistic outlet. And believe it or not, I actually started first doing voices way back in high school playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you've ever played any Dungeons and Dragons. And I was always the dungeon master because none of my friends wanted to run the whole thing. I was like, fine, I'll learn the rules, whatever. I'm the guy who reads the instruction book, And so I was like, fine, I'll read the rules and figure out how to do it. And so I started, kind of narrating, right? Because you're telling stories. And suddenly I have to be the mayor's voice. And now I'm a big bad dragon. And now I'm a little tiny elf guy. And of course, they were all stupid and ridiculous, these voices, but it kind of got me in that habit and showed me that I really could enjoy doing this type of thing. And so when theater was no longer available to me, I looked at what I could do creatively and narrating audiobooks. And I had been doing some voiceover stuff previously. I had done commercials already, and I did a lot of corporate narration, things like when you get an application or a piece of software and there's a little tutorial that's like, click file and then choose this. And I was that guy. There's apps out on the iTunes store right now with my voice on it. I did phone messaging, like, please press 1 and this will happen to you, that kind of stuff before. So it wasn't completely foreign, but I had never pursued audiobooks before and had no idea if I could really act it out and do that. So I started doing nonfiction, and I had done 3 or 4 of those when I landed The Last Detective. And oh man, I was just beside myself, so excited to have a fiction book where I can create these characters. And I was just like, oh, please don't let this be terrible. Let me do a good job. And so I studied up and practiced, and I would read myself before bed. I would just sit there out loud and read to try to get better at it. My poor friends, you guys, I would send them a file like, I did the first 2 chapters. What do you think? And they'd be like, that guy sounds like the mayor from our D&D campaign. And so I would try to adjust. And
yeah, you're not going to reinvent the wheel, I mean, whatever works.
Exactly. So every now and then when I do an audiobook, because I've got this little circle of friends who I trust, and I'll send them the work before I submit it, before it goes anywhere, and be like, is this good? Does this suck? What is this? And they'll listen. And every now and then they'll just pick out a voice and go, I remember that guy. That was this character, right? Because we've been friends for almost 30 years, which is, such a blessing. I'm so grateful for my friends. And we just laugh, because we remember some of these things. And obviously most of the voices, I don't do 57 voices in a D&D campaign, but it was a really good start for it. And it really showed me, hey, this is fun. And so I started to do it and kind of leaned on some of that experience in the beginning. And but yeah, I've done all kinds of roles. I mean, theater for, gosh, I was a professional theater performer for at least 20 years. I mean, you name it, I did it. If you ever dig up any of those videos, you'll see me tap dancing and doing ridiculous things, But yeah, but now I don't do theater any longer. Unfortunately, that part is over, but I still do books and I love to act. One of the things I never really understood about audiobook narrating is that, for me at least, I don't know if every narrator has this experience, but when I am reading the book, I'm really experiencing it. I see the set, I see the house, I see, like in this book, I saw the table, I saw his white knuckles. I can feel those emotions as the characters and trying to get that out. It's just amazing to me, the depth of expression and emotion that you can feel while you're telling a story. And it's actually why I do it. It's why I've stopped doing nonfiction, because for me, it's such a journey. I feel like I get to know these characters. I'll never forget, I was doing 137, and I won't talk about the character names or who they are because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But I was starting to develop a crush on this one character. It's like, oh man, I really like this character. I have a crush on her. And I would talk to Seth, the author, and it's like, oh man, I'm getting a crush on her. And he would just say, that's nice. That's great. And it turns out she was like the big betrayer. Like there was the second to last chapter, like it's all revealed and she's this villainous person. And I was like, no, I was so upset about it. I read this stuff in my bed before I go to bed. So it's in my head and I record the next night. I was literally laying there in my bed screaming. He's like, how could you do this? I can't believe you just did this to me. And it's so funny. But yeah, you get attached, and I didn't know that was something that would happen. But I love the process. It's so much fun. So every book I get is like this fantastic journey where I feel like I get to travel and I get to go to these places and meet these people. And to be honest, I miss some of them. Like we talked about Juggling Kittens too. I am so excited for that book. And I hope that I get to narrate it because I want to connect with those characters again and experience, what they're going through again in their lives and just kind of reconnect with them. Because every single book is a journey artistically, but it's also a part of my life where I remember what was going on and it brings me back to that time period. And boy, I'm just gushing. I apologize. I'm just going on and on and on. But I just love you guys. I love what I do. I love to narrate. I would do this every single day for the rest of my life if I have the opportunity. It's just such a joy.
Well, we all love books here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But yeah, that happens when we're reading books. There's like a theater inside your head.
Yes, exactly like that.
Something it's a testimony to whoever wrote the book that they're creating that scene for you in your head. And a lot of authors let the reader have some latitude in creating things in their head and imagining things. But and some authors are very descriptive and detailed, and you can build the picture in your head. And when I can speak to writing as well. When you're creating something, you see things in your head when you're creating it. And a lot of times you'll go back and read it 3 or 4 weeks later, and you'll go, wait a second, I need to add this in because that's not clear. Or you saw something in your mind that when you wrote it, you didn't write enough detail down, so you need to fill in a lot of the stuff. I mean, I'm sure Joanna can chime in on that too. That it's a long process. You write the draft, and then the hard work begins.
And then there's 500 other drafts after that.
Yeah, especially your first book, that you're doing. It's because you're teaching yourself how to write, to begin with. And the first thing that you have to do as a writer to learn how to write is you have to read a lot. And, if you're going to concentrate in one genre, you have to read a lot in that genre because you have to know, what the conventions are in the genre. You have to know, what sort of character, development is expected in the genre because it differs from genre to genre. I mean, if you're writing a romance, the rules are completely different than they are for science fiction. But that's not to say that science fiction can't have romance in it, and it can't have a mystery in it, because all those things make the stories interesting, and it makes them more lifelike because life has romance and mystery in it. I mean,
that's very true. Absolutely true.
But that's
something I've always liked about books, that you can control when you're reading it and when you get to it's not like when you're watching a TV program, you're in control of everything that's going on in your head with the imagery and with the settings. And when you stop reading, that's the you know, you don't have to worry about putting it on pause or anything. You just set the book down, pick back up, and keep reading. That's just the joy of that is just so much. That's why we are constantly trying to promote authors and everything, because I feel like people nowadays are just not, they're losing the love of reading. I don't know how many times that I've talked, especially younger kids, and they say, oh, I don't pick up books, so I've never read a book type thing that scares me. So it's like trying to promote it. That's what I think is very important in a lot of book clubs and like stuff like this, because I just get this fear that everybody's dissing reading now.